Hello, everyone. It's one more time here for the InEvent Talks, our podcast. Today episode directly from Offsite. We are here for the Forrester B2B Summit, and we have a guest today. InEvent Talks, it's a regional series by InEvent where we have discussions with individual people, like a very specific industry discussions and thoughts with leaders across various disciplines and topics. And today we have Julius Hemingway, Analyst Relations Manager at Storyblok. Thank you, Julius, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Julius has this strong background on creating meaningful connections with industry analysts, developing and collaborating on AR programs. His expertise is leveraging curated content and empirical data to foster a profound comprehension of Storyblok value proposition. And for those never heard about Storyblok, is an innovative content management system, so an innovative CMS for your company and all your marketing team and sales team that enables developers and marketers to craft exceptional content experiences across various digital platforms. This company empowers to create and manage engaging content seamlessly with a wide range of features and tools. And they have worked with renowned brands like Adidas, Tesla, and over 110,000 other esteemed developers. That's amazing. So,
Thank you.
First of all, Julius, how do you see companies using your product, how they are leveraging your product on day to day?
Absolutely. So one of the big things about our content management system is that it belongs to a group of CMSs called headless CMS. What that essentially means is that you're decoupling the front end or the presentation layer from the back end where the content will be living, and then get that content to the front presentation layer through API requests. The idea behind that essentially is you make one update to your content in the back end, and that's going to be reflected on all of the different channels. So typically we speak to companies which are looking to grow internationally, which are very international. We speak with companies that are looking to be on a variety of channels, so that might have apps, that might have a mobile website, normal websites, all those sorts of things. But actually with headless, you can even manage things like television at your booth, or the Apple Watch, or whatever voice activated devices that you might have in your business as well. So that really for us was the very big priority, and where the headless element of Storyblok comes in. The other side of that is we focus very much on empowering content creators and developers, and the idea behind that is we don't want that relationship to become a bottleneck between developers and content creators. A lot of the time content management can be very technical and very developer heavy, and the idea behind our product very much was to create a solution that content creators can work on independently from the developers as well.
Nice. How do you see this for a channel like this? Events are running by content, right? It's extremely heavy, especially an event like this by Forrester. They do a lot of research, and they bring a unique and valuable content. They probably have a unique CMS system, right, to manage this across all the events and all the rooms. They have like endless rooms and sessions here.
No, I think it's super important. I think, obviously there's a lot of very senior people at this conference that attend the B2B Summit, and a lot of buyers and decision makers. So for me, I think it's super important that when you're hosting an event like this, that you have a content management system where, for instance, content creators are able to edit and update certain information about sessions, or about updates to the time, to the agenda, all those sorts of things in real time, so that the agenda can stay up to date as much as possible, so that certain things will happen.
Nice.
You just have to be armed with technology that is going to allow you to be in communication with all the attendees properly, especially at an event like this where you have quite senior people, and they have very high expectations as well about what sort of content they're going to be seeing. And then obviously a lot of the content that they're making here is also going to be available for a long time after the conference. And so I think it's really important that again, there's a nice experience for the people that are going to watch that content as well, and that it's up to date with all the insights that were learned during that session and those sorts of things. So I think that that's really, those two have to go very together.
Yeah, I would ask about this. Like, how do you see this content over here? They told, right, that's going to be available. I don't know if it's 3 months or 1 year,
3
but it
months.
will be available, online.
Yeah,
That's what all the conference they should do. Like right now, put your content online for your attendees later.
Absolutely. So I came from, we were just talking about this before we started, that I kind of started getting very much into conferences and that sort of stuff during COVID. That's very much when I started working in this world, and when I got into touch with these conferences, and at the time everything was virtual, which wasn't the nicest either, in my opinion. Like, I'm a much greater fan of being in person and having these in-person experiences. But what we noticed at that time, I was also still working at Forrester, was that essentially they were almost able to, I think, I'm going to throw this number out there, but like double the amount of people that were seeing the content, because you didn't have to fly anymore. And that translated at a like, when we all started going back again, that didn't have to stop. And so, to be able to still provide this content for all the people at home who might not be able to attend the conference means that you're able to touch a lot more people, that you're able to bring content to a lot more people, and not just the 2,500 people that are at the conference this week.
Yes, that's very important. And you can monetize on top of this additional content that you have. And of course, in our generation of social media, you need to make a lot of cuts and a lot of clips that you can also promote this, right, to reach more audience.
And you just have to have, I think buyers and decision makers and people in general expect a very high quality of information and of content nowadays, be that the format in which they consume it, so be that on social media or the apps and all those sorts of things. Like, one of the big things that we're realizing is that you have to meet your buyers where they want to engage with your content, which is why those omni-channel capabilities are so very important. So I completely agree with you. You have to, in this age, we have so many devices, so many channels that we engage with content on. We have to be able to be on all of those.
And storytelling, it's a great way. Always, like, I think any type of people, we always should hear a story.
Yeah.
How do you approach your customers and tell them, like, what kind of advice you give them when they are putting content outside online? Is there any particular aspect they have to be very careful about? Like, I don't know, the structure of their content or the size? I don't know.
I think it starts a bit earlier than that even. Like, I think the first thing is that you have to understand the content that your buyers and that your audience is actually wanting to consume.
Do you believe they want to consume this podcast?
I very much hope so.
We hope so.
But I think that, at the end of the day, that you have to, buyers will look for certain content, and you can't just rely on, well, if I put out a certain amount of a certain quantity of content, they'll find something within there that will be relevant to them. Like, you have to understand your buyers. Then you have to align internally between all of your teams. Like, having a unified message is the key to putting out good content. Like, everyone has to understand what sort of messaging you're trying to put out there, and be that on social media or on the website or wherever. And then the last thing is that you have to have the right technology, in my eyes, in order to be able to do that as well. So again, you have to be on all of those channels. So you have to have a content management system that allows you to be on all of those different channels, and you have to have a user experience for the people that are creating the content that they enjoy. So we did this study with Forrester, a total economic impact study, kind of an ROI study, where they interviewed 4 of our clients. And one of the things that they found when speaking to our clients was that the customers of our clients ended up spending more time on their websites after they'd implemented Storyblok, just because the content was more fresh, it was more up to date, it was easier for people using Storyblok to bring out good content, and that engaged people a lot more. We weren't expecting that. That was a hugely validating element to us.
Right, and
So
what
yeah,
was the main reason? Was basically because the way
yeah,
the team could find the content was
yeah.
easy, and they could digest also all the
That
analytics.
exactly, the frequency of updates as well. The fact that, you know, what you get a lot in like traditional systems is that you'll have a content creator that has to fill out a ticket, and that goes to a developer, and they update the content, and then they send it back to the content creator, and they see that and they say, that's not really how I wanted it to look. So they make another ticket, it goes back again. This whole process can literally take weeks. And by that point, you're no longer up to date with the news, that, or like you're not able to be up to date with the constant news cycle.
Yeah.
So content is always delayed that you're bringing out.
And the event industry, they needed to also be ahead of this process in terms of you needed to improve your content year by year. You cannot just rely on your brand. Of course,
100%.
an event like Forrester, their brand, it say for itself. Like you don't need to maybe oversell what you're bringing, but they needed to innovate. They needed to bring better
100%.
content
Yeah.
and know what exactly their persona, their customers want to buy.
How are you going about that? How are you making sure that you're staying innovative in the kind of content that you also put out?
Oh, we needed to ask for Pedro Fadley, our marketing manager. But for me, like what I tell him, I'm always constantly listening to what people are saying.
Yeah.
Right. Like very carefully, like on the meetings that I attend, with the customers that I talk, and seeing the reaction when I talk about AI transcription, and I see the reaction for that, or
Yeah.
when I say about like saving time and bringing more revenue, integrating with Salesforce Dynamics and those CRMs.
Yeah.
So I see the reaction, I see how they have positive reactions, and then we can constantly improve our content based on that. And of course, like the analytics of seeing how much time they spend on this content, how many page views do we have, uh, Google Trends, all those analytics.
Yeah.
It's very important for
Absolutely. Do you think AI is going to have a big impact on what you guys are doing? I mean, we've been.
Yeah,
I
we
don't think I've
have
ever heard
AI
AI.
integration, right? Like
Nice.
my thought was like how Google will survive this. Like, yeah, they will make a way. They already released their own AI solution. So I think for us and for our industry, we are enabling already. We are enabling this with AI tools they can use for repetitive tasks, especially these email reminders, right? We get email reminders for events all the time, or sponsors email us, oh, you're gonna have this party tonight, we're gonna have this breakfast tomorrow, my session today, and you can automate a lot of this with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've ever heard the word AI being said as much as in the last 3 days. Honestly, it was a very big theme.
Yeah, we did it at Adobe Summit, I think in March, and since Adobe Summit, like AI was like everyone talking on all their sessions.
Yeah,
but I see a lot of people still they don't use AI on the day-to-day job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I come from Europe myself, so I'm based in Spain, in Barcelona. I'm German, English myself, but I hear, in Europe, there's a lot of uncertainty around the topic of AI in a way that I don't think there is in the US quite to the same extent. Like, Italy made it illegal to use OpenAI.
The government, right? The government brought like Sam Altman and many of those AI leaders to the White House.
Yeah.
So the vice president, she's talking with a lot of leaders to understand what the government has to do to control.
Exactly.
There are a lot of concerns, but the thing is, we are already taking advantage of this, and somehow some people will have a negative impact on their lives, but I see as something that we're gonna learn in the process.
Yeah,
It's hard to predict everything that is going on.
Yeah,
and of course, the human connection is something that we needed to put more on this. That's why in-person events will be very important. But of course, we needed to make those shows very good. You experienced like a bad experience coming here, right? You had like a problem in the airport coming here.
Yeah, I spent 90 minutes in the security queue at Newark Airport.
JFK.
Amazing. No, Newark.
Newark.
And yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, you should do the TSA pre-check-in and all these sorts of things." But like, I didn't know about those sorts of things yet. So
But
now I know for the future.
yeah, exactly. So we are gonna be very concerned about our time and money spent to travel to go to those events. So
Yeah,
it has to be very unique opportunities to be
absolutely.
there and to meet the right people, right? You want to
Yeah,
meet like your customers, the right persona.
absolutely. And in that sense, this conference was excellent, I have to say. Like, there's a lot of B2B marketers and salespeople at this conference, and those are pretty much the people that we like to speak to the most. And it's hugely validating to be here and hear how much the solution also resonates with people and how everyone like gets it. For us, that's a big thing as well. Like, and I think that that's very important for the team as well. Like, to have those conversations with people to understand like what are the issues that they tell you about, and you only really learn as much as you can when you're at a conference, I think, in person.
What was the best thing here on this event? Is there a specific session that was really good for you, or the time when you're at the booth?
I really enjoyed the time at the booth. Actually, we had fewer conversations than usually, but we actually had really good conversations this time.
Yeah, everyone kind of talked about the volume. Like maybe
Yeah,
there was no much traffic in the marketplace, but always the level of the
exactly.
senior level. There are a lot of C levels here,
Yeah,
and they are very genuine in the conversations,
yeah,
right? They want to
absolutely.
know about you, and vice versa. When you ask questions, they are
Yeah,
very open to
yeah.
answer.
And this is the highlight of my of my 3 days, of course.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, it was really good. Like that's the first time we are on this event, and I see the level of networking. I was talking to people here compared to other events.
Yeah,
Some events, when you approach people to just know about them, they're not open to talk. They want to I don't know you and not gonna talk to you. Over here, everyone was really open
yeah,
to know who you are and talk about them as well when you ask the right questions. So I feel the level of networking is very high, and people are very like open to learn. I think that's one of the great things about events
yeah,
is when you go there to learn with other people, not just the speaker. The speaker is one person that you can learn from, but you don't have opportunity many times to engage. Maybe you can ask one question,
yeah.
but the way you see the value of the things you are doing and learn is going to be during the networking
Yeah,
time.
and they were also walking around here. Actually, a lot of the speakers, I really enjoyed that. One of the things that I had was a kind of a crazy moment. Was I was in a session about content and content alignment, being done by Amy and Jennifer Bullock, and they'd quoted our VP of marketing from a very kind of surreal moment for me to sit in a Forrester session and see, my manager being quoted in one of their presentations. I loved it. It was really nice to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. See the impact, right,
Exactly.
of the things you were doing.
Exactly. See
Uh,
that and see that they clearly think that we're doing something right, because if they didn't think that, then they wouldn't be talking about what we're doing. So that was also very rewarding for me to see. It's something that we've worked on for a long time as well.
so, do you think it worth for other marketing managers, CMOs to be here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good conference. I think for me, the thing that I've always appreciated here, and this might not align very much with what they're looking for out of this conference, but I find this conference is excellent for like mid-level marketing managers, because those are the people in the weeds. Those are the people carrying out day to day the strategy that the businesses decide on. And I think that there's so much value for those people to learn in a conference like the B2B Summit.
No.
And I think that companies also should have more of that approach towards how they make decisions, and to have more strategies in the hands of the kind of mid-level marketing managers. And so for me, I think that that's the sweet spot for this conference. Like, those people, when you're having a session about aligning content, the people that are having to align that content are the people that are executing on those strategies. And so for me, I think that that's where I really see the value of this conference the most, and I really enjoy that.
No, yeah, that's awesome. Are you going to the EMEA event? They have also EMEA and APEC, right?
Yeah,
Summit.
absolutely. We'll definitely be there. And I don't know whether we're going to be sponsoring it this time, but we'll definitely be attending it because we want to see the analysts and spend time with the analysts as well. I always thoroughly enjoy coming to these events, and so from that point of view, we'll definitely be there.
And you over here, you had your own session, right? Like your
Yeah,
15 minutes, 20-minute
yeah,
session.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It was really nice to have a chat about basically the TI report that we'd written together with Forrester, that ROI study that we'd done with them, and talk a bit about the state of content management. So the study that we've written at Storyblok about the state of the current content management industry and more about the implementation of how content management systems are being implemented at companies, how many CMSs businesses have, how many teams are using them, all those sorts of things. And yeah, I love that. We do that study every year, and it's such a great study. And there's so many interesting results in that study.
Yeah, I was thinking that that's a great strategy, right? To not have just a booth, but also put a content
Yeah,
on
yeah, for sure.
conferences like this, because especially on conferences that the trade show is not a major part, because some events the trade show will be very important and people spend hours on trade shows, but over here people spend hours on sessions, right?
Yeah,
They want to hear the
yeah,
last things, the last stories. So
yeah.
that's something you recommend
Yeah,
for
yeah,
other companies
absolutely.
to.
I mean, the thing is, people are here for the analysts, right? I come here for the analysts at the end of the day. In total transparency, that's the people that I
They will be
enjoy.
using your product every day, right?
I hope exactly. But yeah, I really enjoy seeing the analysts and spending time with them. Like for me, that's the part that I'm get most excited about when I come to these events, and I think that that's the case for a lot of people. So for us, providing some content throughout this conference as well is what I really care about as well. And for us, that's always a key factor.
That's awesome. Do you want to share any other less thing in your mind about like what we should focus in terms of content strategy for the next 6 months, 1 year? What are the good tools with the Storyblok that people should be using?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of thoughts that I really have. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is really that content creators are properly empowered to bring out good content. And that ties into all so many of the things that we're seeing at the moment around like generative AI and all those sorts of things. Like a big theme of what they were saying here was experiment with AI. At the very least, experiment. If you decide that you don't want to do it, that's okay. If it's not the right thing for you, that's okay. But experiment with it because you need to be able to make an informed decision on whether it's the right thing for you. So those are a couple of the most important things. And then headless technology at the end of the day means that businesses can have a leaner technology stack. A lot of businesses have several content management systems in the company. A lot of businesses don't even realize that they have several content management systems because between teams, there's no communication about who is using what CMS. And the great thing about Storyblok and the thing that we've always wanted to do with Storyblok is that businesses work within one solution within Storyblok, and that you don't rely anymore on third-party apps in order to get your content approved. No, within your CMS you should have an approval workflows process that allows for people to approve content within the platform and edit the content within the platform, or certain discussion features which allow for conversations to happen within the CMS. And I think that that's super important. There's so much that gets lost when we switch between platforms, when we have several platforms, when we don't have that level of alignment. And so I guess that's my big takeaway is like find yourself a platform or a solution, a system that ultimately allows you to stay within that solution and not rely on like several other solutions. And the great thing about headless is you can integrate it with loads of other technologies. So we have a huge tech ecosystem as well where businesses can do so much. And you can really plug it into your entire digital experience architecture. And from that point of view, I think that that's definitely where the industry should be headed, where people should be going, especially if they're looking to scale their content operations, if they're looking to scale their internationalization, and elements like that. So from that point of view, I think that's where businesses should really be focusing on.
Yeah, sounds like a new era of digital transformation, right? There
100%.
is still
100%.
a lot of room for improvement in our digital assets.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Julius.
Thank you very much for having me.
For this
very lovely.
opportunity while they are shutting down their event. But
Yeah.
great conversation. Thank you so much. That was another InEvent Talks episode.